You're going to want to listen to this episode because we're talking about why food and body struggles aren't willpower problems. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. I am not over-exaggerating when I say that for some of you, this episode is going to give you a light bulb moment, this breakthrough in your mind that you have been desperately needing for years or decades. So we're talking about willpower in this episode. And I've done other episodes on willpower, but it seems like no matter how much I scream it from the rooftops, some of you are still blaming yourself. Some of you are still telling yourselves that you're not trying hard enough, or you don't want it bad enough, or that you just need to be more disciplined and have more willpower and try harder, and you're beating yourself up because of it. And I get it. It can be so frustrating when you have been struggling with something like food or body image for so freaking long, and you are exhausted, you are frustrated, it is impacting your life, it's getting in the way of you being able to do certain things in your life, it's costing you a lot, it's costing your relationships. And so I get it. You can get so angry at yourself because of it, and then you blame yourself for it. So in this episode, you will finally understand why your goals, your willpower, your desire to change is not overriding those patterns that you keep repeating. Okay, so really strap in. And in this episode, we're going to talk about one of the reasons why willpower is not the answer when it comes to food and body image struggles. But there are so many different reasons why. And that's why in Food Freedom Academy, we always talk about the root causes. And I say root causes because there's more than one. This is more complex. There's things going on underneath the surface. There's a reason why so many people feel like they can't figure it out, because there's a lot of different roots if you imagine a tree. And today, you're going to learn one of the biggest reasons why having more willpower is not working for you. Obviously, we're going to talk about what you need to be focusing on instead. And so before we even get into it, I want you to think about this, because I want you to really keep this in mind throughout this entire episode. Think about your goals right now. Why are you listening to this podcast? What are you trying to heal? So for example, it could be, I want to put a stop to my binge eating once and for all. It could be, I want to stop linking my worth to my body and my weight. I want to heal my relationship with exercise. I want to be able to take a rest day without feeling guilty. I want to be able to go out to dinner and order what I truly want and not feel guilty about it. I don't want to track my calories and feel obsessive about food. So I want you to think about, what is the reason that you listen to this podcast? What is your goal? And then let's talk about the things that you are doing in order to try to achieve that goal. Okay, so what I mean by this, we are going to call it the strategy. So strategy means like the actions that you're taking, the things that you're trying to think about. So for example, strategy might mean if you're trying to put an end to binge eating, strategy might mean I am placing rules for myself where I can't eat after 7 p.m. or I am not allowing myself to bring trigger foods in the house. It could also be if you're trying to let go of tracking and measuring. The strategy might be I deleted my tracking apps or I got rid of my food scale. So I really want you to think about what has been your strategy over the past few months, few years, few decades. Now, the first problem that I encounter when I'm working with my clients inside the academy is that typically the strategy that they've been taught is actually working against them. And you might already know this if you're listening to this podcast. So oftentimes people are taking these actions and implementing a strategy that is creating more fear, more anxiety, more deprivation, more restriction around food. So for example, keeping trigger foods out of the house or not eating between certain times or having more rules and tracking more and counting the calories. And so that's obviously the first problem is like, we want to make sure that the strategy that you are taking is the right one. And oftentimes what I'm seeing when people are telling me what they're doing, I'm like, well, yeah, of course you're still struggling with food in your body. But then on the other side of it, there might be people who are implementing the right strategies. Okay. So for example, you are someone who wants to stop tracking. So you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to delete all my tracking apps. Or if you're someone who wants to have a healthier relationship with exercise, you're like, I'm going to give myself 1 day a week where I'm going to force myself to take a day off, to take a rest day. And oftentimes, what you're probably noticing if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you're really trying hard to heal, but you're not making as much progress as you want, there's probably a lot of force involved. Like I'm trying really, really hard. It's a lot of force. So we want to talk about that forcing energy, okay? Because I put that forcing energy in the same bucket as willpower. Because willpower is a conscious effort to control a behavior. There's one word in there, my friend, that I want you to really notice, the word conscious, okay? Remember this. Your total mind is made up of 2 parts, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is where your willpower lives, right? And we use our willpower to do things like getting out of bed earlier than we want to, going to the gym when we're not in the mood, doing chores like dishes, laundry, cleaning, finishing a work task that we've been procrastinating on, or saying no to another episode on Netflix, or sticking to a budget, or not checking your phone during a meeting. For some of these tasks, for some people, it's like not that difficult, right? Like to use the willpower in that moment. Okay, I'm going to use willpower to do the dishes even though I don't want to, or not check my phone, or go to the gym when I'm not in the mood. But what do these all have in common? They're surface level decisions that don't threaten your sense of safety. I'm going to say this again, okay? All of those tasks that we use willpower with are all surface level decisions that don't threaten your sense of safety. Yes, they can feel annoying, they can feel inconvenient, they can feel uncomfortable, but they don't usually tap into your survival patterns. Now, I want to say a little caveat, which is for some people, some of those things might actually run deeper than just not checking your phone, for example. And willpower might not work for that. For example, if you are someone who your phone is a way to numb, to distract yourself from negative emotions, it is something that you just impulsively pick up and doom scroll when you're feeling stressed or overstimulated, then you will notice willpower is not going to work for that either. It might work for the first time, getting yourself not to pick up the phone. It might work for like a week where you really tell yourself, I'm going to put the phone in the other room and I'm not going to check it. But if you don't do the deeper work to address why you were turning to your phone in the first place, then you're going to notice after a week, after 2 weeks, there you are again, scrolling on your phone over and over again, spending too much time on it. So what all of those things have in common is that they don't tap into our survival mechanisms. Because remember that as human beings, we really have one goal. We are animals, and it is to survive. Along with survival means being safe. And so we are consciously chasing things, doing patterns, thinking certain thoughts and beliefs, feeling certain emotions as a way to try to chase safety. And there is nothing that we do that is not connected to safety. So when it comes to the issues, the struggles, the challenges that you are having with food, maybe it is binge eating because it's your go-to coping mechanism, or tracking calories, tracking macros, weighing everything because it is what allows you to feel in control. Or not weighing yourself in the morning can feel almost impossible to do because weighing yourself is giving you a sense of safety. If I weigh myself every morning, then I am less likely to gain weight. I am more likely to stay in control. Therefore, I am avoiding the possible shame, judgment, isolation, criticism, opinion of others that I might feel if I gain weight. So those behaviors that you want to break free from right now, or those beliefs, those thoughts that you repeat to yourself on a daily basis, the emotions that you want to stop having, the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, all of those things that you want to leave behind once and for all, they're not just bad habits. They're protective adaptations. Your nervous system sees these things as necessary for your survival. And that lives in your subconscious mind. That is 95% of your mind. So 95% of the things that you think, that you feel, and of your behaviors come out of your subconscious mind and your nervous system. And the thing is that your mind and your nervous system work together. And so if you're having really negative thoughts, like what's wrong with me? I'm such a failure. I can't stick to anything. Then obviously you're going to have that nervous system response where you're going to feel dysregulated. You're going to feel all of these like discomfort in your stomach and tension in your shoulders. And in the same way, sometimes you're going to have a reaction in your body. And so your nervous system is going to respond first. And then your brain is going to have an interpretation of what's going on in your body. And so if you're starting to feel dysregulation in your body, right? Like you're going out in public and your body instinctively starts to feel tense and dysregulated, well, then your brain is going to start thinking, I'm unsafe. People are judging me. People are looking at me. People are thinking I've gained weight, that I don't look good. And so they complement each other, I guess is the way to put it. They feed each other. So here's the thing that you need to understand is that if your conscious mind, where your goals and your dreams live, is not in alignment with your subconscious mind, which is where your protection mechanisms live, you're constantly going to feel like you are fighting with yourself, because 95% of your subconscious mind is fighting for your safety and fighting for your survival. And so those negative thoughts that you think of, like, what's wrong with me? Even that is a survival mechanism, because a part of you thinks that if you criticize yourself enough, if you're hard on yourself enough, then that will motivate you to change. And that if you are kind to yourself, if you start giving yourself grace and compassion, then you're gonna, quote unquote, let yourself go. And then what does that mean? Then you're just gonna eat whatever you want, whenever you want. You're gonna gain weight, and then you're gonna feel all of those negative emotions that your nervous system is trying to protect you from. So I'll tell you a little story. I had a client who had struggled on and off with binge eating for decades. And it always came back, because every time that she tried to put a stop to the binge eating, it was through sheer force, through sheer willpower, and, like we said at the beginning, strategy. But the thing is that it would, quote unquote, work for like a couple of days, maybe a few weeks. And before she knew it, those old thoughts, those old compulsions, those old emotions, those survival patterns would start to creep back in. And then she was right back into the binge eating patterns. And the reason why this kept happening is because there was a part of her that didn't feel safe letting go of the binge eating behaviors. And so no matter how much she obviously wanted to stop, because it was affecting her mental health, it was affecting her physical health, her social health, there were survival safety mechanisms in her subconscious mind that she had never been taught how to address, because when it comes to this field and the health and nutrition content that's out there, most don't tap into these deep rooted subconscious reprogramming nervous system issues, because it might be too complex, or it's just easier to tell people to eat this and not eat that. And people will buy that because they're like, yes, that's easy. That's quick results. But the thing about a quick fix is that it never lasts, right? It's like a Band-Aid. And so once we started actually looking at what the binge eating behaviors was doing for her, like what that part of her who kept repeating the binge eating behavior, what it was afraid would happen if she didn't do that anymore. And she was afraid that she was just going to feel anxiety 24/7, because the binge eating, what it did is at least it helped calm down the anxiety in the moment. it gave her a sense of escape from it. And of course, if your nervous system thinks that when you stop doing this pattern, that even though it's not helping you, it's harming you. Well, if you stop doing it, you're going to feel anxiety 24/7 and you're going to feel all these negative emotions and you're not going to be able to function. You're going to keep repeating the pattern, even though it's harming you. Remember that the human being does not operate on the side of thriving, right? Like that's not our first function, is thriving. Our first function is surviving. And so the beliefs, the thoughts, the emotions, the patterns that we develop in our subconscious mind, they're for survival. Whereas what you're trying to do through more willpower, through more discipline, through just trying harder is in your conscious mind, right? Like you are trying to thrive, you are trying to grow, but that will never override the nervous system's inclination to protect you. And this isn't like all is doomed, because we know from our clients inside of Food Freedom Academy that it is possible to work with your nervous system. And that's where I'm hoping that you're starting to get some light bulbs, that just trying harder, doing more of what you've been doing, having more disciplined, that's still only 5%. And when you can look at why am I doing these patterns? Not from a like, why are you like this? But a compassionate, like, okay, think of it this way. Let's say you're a mom and your kid for the past few hours has been screaming in pain, yelling, crying, whining in pain. And instead of paying attention and being like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Why do you feel this way? Let me help you. Let's figure out where this pain is coming from. You were to tell your kid, stop crying. Just stop. Just use your willpower. Have more discipline. Stop crying. And let's say you did actually get down on a knee and you're like, what's going on? Let's figure this out together. Let's bring you to the hospital. Let's do a diagnosis. Let's run some tests. And you were to figure out that he was having an appendix attack. And he was like, his stomach was in so much pain because his appendix burst. Well, now by actually being compassionate and trying to understand, where is this pain coming from? Well, then you can diagnose it and then you can treat it. But if you were to just tell your kid, stop crying, stop being so dramatic, you're being bothersome, you're interfering with my day, the pain would just get so much worse. And that's probably what you're doing. And I say this with so much love because I've done it. I get it. And the reason why I say this with so much love and I get this is because this is what I used to do. I used to fight with myself. I used to get angry with myself instead of compassionately trying to figure out, where is this coming from? So if you've been frustrated with yourself because you're not making the progress that you want to be making, please hear this. You won't fully change and let go of the patterns, the behaviors, the beliefs, and the emotions that you know that you need to let go of in order to step into like identity 2.0, that version of you that is out there, that is capable of food freedom, that version of you who is an intuitive eater, who eats with peace, who no longer struggles with food. That version of you is out there. That version of you could be so much closer than you think, but you won't get there through sheer force or willpower. You will only get there once your nervous system feels safe enough to let go of the patterns that no longer serve you. And that is where the work needs to be done. And going back to that story of my client that I told you about, once we established that baseline of safety, and once we changed her internal narrative and the view of what life would look like without the binge eating, and we created that safety to change, she stopped binge eating. And she didn't even need to use willpower to do it because the binge eating no longer served a purpose. So, of course, when it comes to rewiring your nervous system and creating that baseline of safety to actually be able to change, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a reason why I have an entire module inside of Food Freedom Academy on this topic. And I will say that oftentimes we need support with this, right? Because the thing about the nervous system is that it likes to feel safe. It likes to repeat its own patterns, and it also likes to isolate. So when you're working on expanding your capacity in your nervous system, to do it with support can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And of course, this is not something that I can go deep into in one episode. It's not an overnight fix. There's a lot that goes into it that we work on with our clients. But I do want to give you something to walk away with in this episode. And of course, if you want more support, if you are ready to invest in yourself and fast track your healing so that you don't have to keep hitting roadblocks and feeling like you're hitting your head against the wall and feeling frustrated, I, of course, encourage you to join us inside of Food Freedom Academy. But if you don't feel quite ready yet, I'm going to give you one thing to start thinking about, journal on, meditate on, and it's this. What are my current patterns? So those patterns could be your behaviors, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions in relation to food in your body, because that's what we're talking about in this podcast. It could also be exercise, but honestly, I put exercise in the same category as your body because why do most of us have an unhealthy relationship with exercise? Because of our relationship with our bodies. So what are these patterns protecting me from? Another way to say this is, what am I afraid is going to happen when I don't think this way, or when I don't take this action or do this behavior? So for example, what am I afraid is going to happen if I stop binge eating? What am I afraid is going to happen if I stop criticizing my body? What am I afraid is going to happen if I stop weighing myself? And once you do that, what you're going to notice, this is huge, is that it's not the fear of failure that's holding you back. It's the fear of success, the fear of what you might have to let go of, the fear of what you think you're going to have to sacrifice. So I hope that today opened your eyes and finally helped you see that if willpower hasn't worked for you, if you've just been trying harder and having more discipline and it's not working and you feel like you're not making the progress that you want and you feel like you're stuck, even though you've been working on this for years, it's not a personal failure. It's a sign that your nervous system is doing its best to protect you, not sabotage you. We can't self-sabotage because, again, everything is about protection. And as I said at the beginning of this episode, there's so many reasons why willpower doesn't work that we didn't even have the chance to go into today, but I wanted to focus on this one. And so from now on, no more blaming ourselves, okay? No more being hard on ourselves. and being our own worst bully. And I know I'm right there with you. It's something that we have to work on every single day. But how can you change the inner narrative to be more curious, more compassionate? Talk to yourself the way that you would talk to your kids. Make it an experiment for the next 14 days. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm not going to let myself criticize or judge my actions. I'm really going to be kind to myself. I'm going to try to understand myself. I'm going to get curious. And then if that throws you off a ledge and you are living your worst life after 2 weeks of speaking kindly to yourself, you can go back to bullying yourself, but at least give yourself a chance. And again, if you feel like you need support with this, because I definitely know that I need support with this. I have my own coaches that I'm constantly working with because I'm always trying to grow and I value my time. I'm like, if there's someone who can help me get there faster, I will do it. Like, please tell me what to do. And so if you are someone who also values your time and you want to heal and you don't want to keep banging your head against the wall, then I really encourage you to join us inside of Food Freedom Academy. And even then, let's bring it back full circle. Notice where your brain goes of what am I afraid is going to happen if I get support with this, and see what comes up. All right. I love you so much. Of course, if you don't feel ready to invest in support, I've got a bunch of free resources. I have a free workshop in the show notes. I have a free brand new secret podcast in the show notes as well. You can find all the details there. I love you so much. Be kind to yourself. All right. I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, real quick before you go, if you're loving this podcast and you're thinking, Sabrina, I want more. I want to go deeper. I want a step-by-step process for healing my relationship with food. I've got a free workshop that literally walks you through it. It's a full breakdown of the exact method that I use to help my clients stop binging, heal emotional eating, and finally feel at peace with food in their bodies. It's totally free. So if you're ready to stop feeling obsessed and out of control with food, head to sabrinamagnan.com/training or find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.